Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Bola from clevergirlfinance.com, and today I'm going to be sharing with you exactly how I saved $100,000 in a little over 3 years right after I left college. And I did this without making a six-figure salary. I was only making about $40,000 a year when I graduated, and if I could save 100K in 3 years, so can you. I think one of the biggest issues that people have when it comes to saving large amounts of money really revolves around mindset. A lot of people feel like they need to be making six figures or a high income in order to save, but that is not true. I saved 100K on a 40K salary in a little over 3 years, and so it is very possible, but it's all about having the right strategy and also, very importantly, having the right mindset. And so I'm going to be walking you through exactly what I did to save my 100K, and hopefully you can take some of the strategies I applied and use them in your own savings plan. So let's get started. Okay, so let's talk about exactly how I saved this $100,000 in a little over 3 years. And I'm going to be walking through the key strategies that I used, basically everything that helped me be able to save that $100,000. That was my first $100,000. And like I mentioned, I wasn't earning a six-figure salary. And I'm sharing this information basically to hopefully motivate and inspire somebody out there who wants to save money. So if you're watching this and one of your goals is to save a ton of money and you're not making six figures, you're not making a ton of money, it is very possible. So let's just go over the details of how I did it. So when I first graduated from college, I got a job making a starting salary of $54,000, which after taxes was really only around $40,000. And 3.5 years later, I had saved over $100,000. I had a few things that were going to my advantage in terms of how much I was able to save, and I'll just break those down for you. So, number one, I was very fortunate to have no student loans, thanks to my super hardworking mom who paid for my college tuition in cash. So that was definitely one thing I had going for me. I personally felt like I had a good entry level salary as a brand new college grad. So to me, $40,000 after taxes was awesome. When I think about it now, that really was not a lot of money. But at the time, I thought it was a good entry level salary. So hey, right? Number three, I got a raise and a bonus every year while I was saving. So over those 3 years, I got a raise each year and a bonus. My bonus was not particularly great. It was very small, but I still counted it. And I also got promoted. And so by the end of those 3.5 years, I had actually started earning about $74,000, which after taxes was about $52,000. So I went from 40K to 52K over the course of those 3.5 years. However, one of the things I will say was that, whether or not I had those advantages going for me, not having student loans, having a job that paid me 40K and getting raises and bonuses, um, I'm definitely a saver by nature. And that means that as long as I'm earning money, I'm saving money. And this has a lot to do with mindset and the way you think about what it is you're trying to accomplish and believing that you can accomplish and allowing yourself to take the actions that will help you get to your goal, even if those steps might seem like really, really small steps. It all starts with the mindset and believing that you can. And when you believe that you can do something, you're more likely to take the actions to do it. So a few other things I want to note before I break it down exactly how I save the money is, first of all, I saved this money entirely on my own. I did not have an inheritance. I did not have a handout or a trust fund. I was also single, so I didn't have the added luxury of a joint income. I also didn't have a sugar daddy or a rich boyfriend, which I just wanted to put out there. It was just me saving this money. And just in case you didn't quite hear me, I did all of this without earning six figures. So guys, it's really, really possible for you to be able to save a ton of money. It's all about the strategy. So below I've broken down exactly what I did, and I'm going to also share tips on how you can use what I did to help you with your own savings plan. But it's also important that I mention that self-education, educating myself was key to my success. And it started for me with a book by David Back called Smart Women Finish Rich. And I'm going to be sharing the link to this blog post at the bottom below here so that you can actually click to it and spend some time reading this blog post. But there is a link to the book. It's called David Back, Smart Women Finish Rich. You can find it on Amazon, but it completely changed my life and my relationship with money. And everything I learned from that book stands true today. I read that book to the point where it got so tattered I had to buy a new copy. I also share a link here of my favorite money books, books that I have read that have helped me with my self education and personal development that I highly encourage you to check out. So I'm going to be leaving a link to this blog post in the comments below so that you can stop by here and spend some more time on this content. So here's how I saved my 100K in a little over 3 years. Number one, I contributed to my retirement via a 401k that was offered by my employer. So I had an employer sponsored plan. And one thing I want to say, was that when I first started working, I had no clue what a 401k was or why I needed it, why I needed one. And that's okay. If you don't know what it is or if you don't know why you need one, that's okay because I didn't know either. All I knew was that I was being offered free money via a match. My employer was offering me a free match, and I was all over it. As time progressed, as I started to work on my self education, I learned what the 401k was. I learned about asset allocation, fund types, expense ratios. But to start out, I just basically started out by taking the free match. I started somewhere, even though I didn't know much about it. So at the time, my employer was matching 100% of the first 6% that I contributed. I didn't max out my contributions all the way back then, but I contributed about 15% of my salary, and throughout the 3.5 years of savings, I was able to save $40,000 in my 401k. This was also around the time shortly before the US recession, the big recession. And so the money I had been contributing to the account actually had opportunity to grow because the stock market had been performing pretty well leading up to the recession. So this 40K was my contribution plus market growth. And it's important to keep in mind that when you are investing, it's all about investing for the long term. So even if the market might be in a decline now, as long as you plan, you have a long-term plan, your money is going to be able to grow and it's going to be able to take advantage of the power of compounding. So, you know, it's all about giving your money time to grow. So my tip is basically, if you can, you want to contribute to a retirement plan as soon as you can and max it out if possible. I didn't max out right away, but knowing what I know now, I would have maxed out, at the very beginning. If you can't afford to max out right away, if you can't afford to max out right away, then plan to increase your contributions by 1% every quarter until you get to the point where you are maxing out your contributions. And if your employer offers a match, take it. Also, one thing I'm going to add is that if your employer does not offer a retirement plan for you, you can open your own individual plan through a brokerage firm. And one of my favorite ones is Betterment. So you guys can check it out. Okay, so let's keep going. And FYI, if you want to get a checklist, a tip sheet that basically breaks all of this out that you can print out and keep with you, keep handy in a binder as you work on your finances, stop by the site. Again, the link to this blog post is going to be in the comments below. And enter your email address to get my tip sheet on these 7 strategies I use to save 100K. That way you can reference it often. Okay, so my second strategy was that I kept my expenses low. So after my 401k, health insurance, tax deductions, my main expenses were I had a car note for about $150 to start, and then I changed my car, and so my car note was about $300. I had to pay insurance, which was about $80, and I had a mortgage. I owned a home, which was about $900. So I did have expenses. I had a mortgage, a car note, and other bills, but these were my main expenses. One of the things I did, however, was that I lived at home for 6 months after I graduated from college, before I moved into my home, before I purchased my home. And this allowed me to kickstart my savings because I was able to save most of my pay for those 6 months. Also, groceries were never a big bill because I was single and because I never really cooked. I didn't really eat. I was all about ramen noodles and Coke. I would not recommend that to you. That is a horrible diet. And one thing I wanted to mention about living at home for 6 months before I moved into my house was that the money I saved those first 6 months, I actually put it towards my down payment on my house. And so it helped me save, but a lot of that savings went to the down payment on my house and not to this $100,000. So if I hadn't bought a home, if I had stayed in my parents' place, I would have definitely saved way more money. The other thing around about keeping my expenses low was that I didn't really go out. When I went out, it was hanging out at friends' houses. I don't drink alcohol, so that was a big savings. If you drink alcohol, you probably know that, or if you don't know, when you go to restaurants and bars, the markup is about 300%. So it's very, very expensive. I also traveled a lot for work, and so I was able to get a lot of my lunches during the week reimbursed. And then one of the things that I made sure I did when I was buying my house was that I made sure I purchased my home close to work. This way I didn't have to buy gas all the time. Um, People always ask me if I did any shopping. I did shopping, but it was just a little bit of shopping here and there, and I hadn't built any big expensive shopping habits yet. I also had my water bill, my internet bill, my cell phone bill, and all of that came into around $170 combined every month. So my tip to you would be, when it comes to, trying to save a large amount of money, you want to plan to get your expenses down, and that should be your first area of attack in your budget. So try living close to work if possible. Pack your lunches, work out at home or outdoors instead of going to the gym, carpool, cut out alcohol, get creative with ways to bring down your expenses. You basically want to get your expenses down as low as you can possibly get them. Okay, so my strategy number three was I focused on saving 40 to 50% of each paycheck and anything else extra that I got. So after my 401k deductions and my taxes, the first year I earned somewhere around 1350 to 1400 a paycheck. And I tried to save at least 500 to 700 of every paycheck. And because I was able to keep my expenses low, so that's the key, guys. Because I was able to keep my expenses low, this was not hard to do. I saved all of my yearly bonuses. And after 50% bonus tax, this was somewhere around 1500 the first couple of years. It wasn't much, but it was still something. So I got a bonus every year of about 3,000, and then 50% of it went to taxes because bonuses are taxed at 50%, and so I had 1,500 left, and so I would save all of it. And if I got a tax return, I would save the bulk of my tax return. As a result, I was able to accumulate a lot of cash this way very quickly because I was averaging about $18,000 a year in cash savings, and in the 3.5 years, I had saved well over $50,000 in cash from my full-time job. So my tip to you is that it's not just about keeping your expenses low. It's also about making a plan to save when you have money left over from your budget. I made this easy for myself by automating my savings, and I had my money sent over to my savings account automatically as soon as I got paid. There is a savings account that is one of my favorite savings accounts that I linked to here. And basically how I do it, I still use this account today, is I have automated deposits set up for my different savings goals, and just having that automation in place helps me stay on top of my savings. And the account that I reference, the account that I use now actually gives you a free $5 to get started. Okay, strategy number four, I started a side hustle. Yes, guys, I became very interested in taking photographs, and I ended up with a very successful part-time lifestyle and wedding photography business. And I took a little bit of money from my savings to invest in buying equipment and entry level DSLR camera to be able to run this side hustle. I studied photography, I bought books, I watched videos, I did a lot of free photography to build my skill set. And within a few months, I found this business growing very quickly, and it became very profitable, much to my surprise. I loved doing it, and it earned me a great side income. I spent a lot of my earnings reinvesting back into my business that first year. Like I said, I'm a saver. Whenever I earn money, I save money. And then I also made one of my big money mistakes here where I started funding a very amazing, very expensive designer handbag collection, which is why I only saved $100,000, a little over 100K in those 3.5 years. I feel like if I hadn't gotten into this whole handbag situation, I would have saved a lot more money than 100K, but I did. And again, I'm going to leave the link to this blog post so that you can click here to read about my collection and what happened. I eventually got rid of it, and made a lot of my money back, but it was definitely a big money mistake. So the first year of my business, I earned around $10,000. And like I mentioned, I put a lot of that money back into buying equipment, paying my taxes. The second year, I earned around 30,000, and that was amazing because this was now a profitable business. And I had a couple, I think I had about $25,000 of just spare cash. And then subsequent years, I earned more, and I worked really hard, but it was worth it. My friends were hanging out, they were going to, parties, they were traveling, but I was working on the weekends. I was editing photos at night. I was, trying to run this side hustle so I could save money. Around this time, I also started learning about investing outside of retirement, and I used some of the money I earned from my side hustle to get into investing. This side hustle pushed my savings over the 100K mark. So my tip to you is a side hustle is an awesome thing to do as long as you set it up and you manage your finances in the side hustle the right way. It can be a major boost to your income. Just don't spend all your money on handbags. Okay, so strategy number 5. I spent money on credit, but I was smart about it. So, yes, I still had a credit card, but the majority of my spending on credit was using a charge card. And a charge card is basically a type of credit card that you are required to pay your balance in full every single month. You cannot carry over a balance. And I had an American Express Gold card, so that was what I used. And the reason why I started using a charge card was because I was required to have a charge card to cover my work expenses, and so I thought, why not get one for myself too? And during the course of using my charge card, I got a few reality checks as well when I overdid it at times. But using a charge card always reined me in; it always brought me back to reality, and it still does. I know my limits because I know at the end of the month I'm going to have to pay off the balance in full. So my tip to you is that if you are able to qualify for one, a charge card, consider getting one. It'll help you build credit, and it acts just like a credit card. It's also really important that you stay on top of your credit score and credit history. And I linked to a really great resource here. So that is, in very high level summary, how I was able to save over $100,000 in a little over 3 years. And like I mentioned, I'm a saver by nature. I need that sense of security, and an empty bank account makes me antsy. So I'm motivated to save. My mindset is all around, yes, I can do this. And a lot of people tell me, well, it's because I didn't have any student loans. But I'll tell you this. If I had $100,000 in student loan debt and I was committed to doing it, the same way I was committed to saving this 100K, I would have paid off pretty much most of it or all of it within the same time period. That's just, how motivated I was. That's just where my headspace was. I didn't want to have any debt and I wanted to save money. All of this being said, you may not be able to save $100,000 right now, right this minute, and you may have a ton of debt. But regardless of where you are, single, married, if you have kids, if you have no kids, and I'll tell you that I know what it is to save with kids because I have twins, and you guys who have kids, you know that kids are expensive. But know that regardless of where you are with your finances, you can pay off your debt and you can still save a serious amount of money over time, and you don't have to be making six figures. Don't make the mistake of waiting to make six figures before you save. You need to do what you can with what you have. And it all starts with adjusting your mindset. Like I said, mindset is very, very important in this process. And then take a full assessment of where you currently stand. Create a strategy around your situation. Keep your expenses low. Automate as much as you can and stay focused. Over time, with discipline, dedication, you will see results, and every single dollar counts. And I know that it's easier said than done, but I did it and it is doable. So, that, guys, is how I saved my $100,000. I hope that was helpful to you. If I could do it, you can do it. And I definitely encourage you to start by adjusting your mindset and then getting a plan and a strategy in place. And if you want to, get my tip sheet of exactly how I did it and print it out and keep it handy, head over to this blog post. The link is going to be in the comments below, and enter your email address here and you'll have it sent directly to your inbox. Also, check out my resource library. I have a free resource library on the blog, clevergirlfinance.com, where I share a ton of worksheets, checklists, tip sheets, and some really awesome content that can help you jumpstart your financial situation, help you work on paying off your debt and saving money starting today. So I hope hope you guys have enjoyed listening and watching this video on how I saved my 100K in a little over 3 years. And if you have, please like this video and subscribe to this channel so that you can be up to date every time I put out a new video. Thank you guys so much for listening and for being here.